As Hitchcock, he had a reputation for being a practical joker, a good sense of humor, but he was from the old school. When he told an actor to do something, it was his way or the highway, wasn't it? He might not have been a yeller or a screamer, but that was it.
This was the case. On a certain picture he was shooting, and the star, an eminent star, and a very fine fellow, and a major star. And Hitch, at a certain point, directed him to sit, because Hitch had in mind a cut from there to something else. And he directed this actor to sit. And the actor, who was very well trained in the so-called Stanislavski method, said, "Why do I sit?" And Hitch said, "To put your ass in the seat of the chair." He was a great one for the joke. Yeah. If I may digress from Hitch.
Sure.
There is a saying of Stanislavski's: there are no small parts, only small actors. I was fortunate enough in my long and sordid career to be in King Lear with Luke Allen. I played the fool. And we were rehearsing. This is during rehearsal. And Lou, who's a giant, who's a man, he's about 6'3" or 4. Lou is doing the great aria which ends, "Oh fool, I shall go mad," but it's, oh God, it's got every sorrow of every father, every tone of emotion. I mean, you have to be a great athlete to do it. Now, one of the daughters is on stage at that time, and as you know, the plot of Lear is the daughters who turn on him, except for one daughter who he thought did turn on him, Cordelia. As a matter of fact, the footnote to the story I'm telling is, in the days when there were cab drivers who were really from the old country, like Russia or Poland or something, cab drivers in New York, the plot of the father with the ungrateful children became a standard plot in the Yiddish theater. And Lou came into New York, and a cab driver recognized him. He says, "Well, Mr. Calvin, come in my cab." He came in and said, "So what are you here to do?" He said, "I'm here to do King Lear." And the cab driver said, "Do you think it'll play in English?" But to get back to Stanislavski, Lou is knocking himself out. Now, the daughter on stage at this time was played by Jo Van Fleet, a very good actress, but a bit of a, shall we say, self-indulgent. We were in rehearsal. He's knocking himself out, doing this thing, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees Van Fleet doing all sorts of reactions and acting, and he stops. And he looks at her and he says, "Van Fleet, I've got news for you. There are small parts."
God, we're getting a little short on time, and because our next show starts at 4. But talk a little bit. The Alfred Hitchcock Presents, probably one of the best dramatic programs that's been on television ever. And it was yourself, Joan Harrison, and Alfred Hitchcock. And 39 episodes a year for I don't know how many years.
It was at the start, and then when we went to an hour, we went to 22.
Yeah. How does the process work on story selection, approval? How did the process work from yourself, Joan Harrison, and Alfred Hitchcock? What was his involvement?
We would gather the stories and have them synopsized, and that is Joan and I, and then we had a story editor, and we covered whatever we could and got the stories synopsized, given to Hitchcock. He either approved them, disapproved, or said, put this on reserve, you may need it if you run out of material. Once he approved the story, it was Joan and I who hired the writers. The writer finished the script. We never consulted Hitch on the script. But we would send all the scripts to Hitch, and he would read every script. Now the thing is, when he read the scripts, if you didn't hear from him, everything was okay. On some interesting occasions, he had suggestions to make something much more interesting in that script. And I'll give you an example in a moment. But once he did that, but once the script got past Hitch and got back to us, we selected the directors and the actors, and then he looked at it again when there was a rough cut, and he would have a suggestion. He never suggested a retake because it was his own company. And he would say, if you have a close-up there, use it. If not, forget it. But the thing is, he would then look at the picture. If he liked it, he would say thank you. If he really didn't care too much, he'd just get up and say nothing and walk out of the projection, which was okay.
Yeah.
And very often he would have some very interesting things to say about that. But there were times he would make a suggestion story-wise that was so Hitchcock, so brilliant. We did a show called The Unlocked Window. The story was a little town in the country. There was a killer loose, and the people were ordered to lock up their houses. In this particular house we were covering, they forgot to lock the cellar window, which kept flapping open all through, and you're waiting for it. Now, in the house is a sick man, played by John Carr, and his nurses, two female nurses. And they lock up and follow all the calls about the possibility of a killer being in the thing. Meanwhile, you cut to the unlocked window, a cat going in and out, all that kind of thing. Rain, and the suspense builds up. And finally, to development of situation, one of the nurses turns out to be a man and starts to kill the guy in the bed, and all that develops trying to rescue him. And the nurse, seeking to go away, a costume is ripped from a nurse's outfit. The part was played by a female impersonator named T.C. Jones. And when Hitch read the script, and this is what I think is so wonderful, he said, when you rip off the uniform, the nurse's uniform, make sure you bare the breast of the actor so they'll know it's a man. Otherwise, they'll still think it's a woman. So we had to get a shot as the nurse's uniform came to rip it apart and show he was bare-breasted and a man. I think that's very thoughtful.
Well, we have run over our time and care respect the service of Norman.
Thank you so much for coming.